So the BYU Cougars have a pretty strong core of guys in the NFL right now. Obviously, in hoping to add some guys to that this year with the likes of Jack Kelly and Chase Roberts, Tanner Wall. I think of guys like that in terms of their opportunity to contribute to the next level. But I have always enjoyed guys as much as I love the Kyle Van Noys, the Fred Warners, the Jamal Williams, who are NFL draft picks and obviously have been richly rewarded for their play on the field and have made generational, life-changing type money. I love stories of guys who have overcome adversity and have ultimately made it. And the bet on themselves is the term I love to use, has paid off in spades. And two of them came to fruition yesterday. Now, both of these guys, when they enrolled at BYU, were two-star prospects. And we're going to talk about Tyler Allgeier and Khyiris Tonga. Now, we'll start off with Allgeier. We'll go in sequential order of when these deals came in. And Allgeier was a guy that when he showed up at BYU, remember, he was a two-star prospect, a preferred walk-on from Fontana, California, and was simply looking for an opportunity to play at the collegiate level. He wanted so badly to play that he moved over to linebacker for the BYU football program and actually played against Boise State. And then a year later, just carved up the Boise State Broncos as he really began to become what he is as a running back. The story of Tyler Allgeier involves him stocking shelves. I think it was at Walmart in Orem when he was a walk-on trying to just get by. The stories that these guys go through, and I know it's changed now in this NIL world where guys can be rewarded by the collectives and the like, and obviously businesses out there. And the walk-on story is not necessarily as, I guess, the pull yourself up by your bootstrap style as it used to be. But I'm talking, this is a true story about Tyler Allgeier. He was stocking shelves at Walmart at night, trying just to make it with the BYU football program, moved to linebacker, moved back to running back, he just moved position because he just wanted to play ball. And all he did was become one of the best single running backs in BYU football program history. And obviously went into the NFL, has been playing with the Atlanta Falcons, and has been a nice tandem guy with Bijan Robinson. But Bijan, being a first-round pick, if I recall correctly, always kind of got the nod over Tyler, who was a middle-round pick. And he yesterday got, I think, first RB1 money from the Arizona Cardinals, a 2-year, $12.25 million contract. And that's not incredible money. But remember, Tyler Allgeier, we're not talking that long ago, was stocking shelves at Walmart as a walk-on just trying to get by at BYU. And now he's going to be a multimillionaire. He's already made pretty decent money in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons, but this is the type of money and opportunity with the Arizona Cardinals for him, in theory, to become a featured #1 running back for an NFL team. I hope that Tyler's story continues to be one of surpassing all expectations. He's never fumbled once in his NFL career, and I'm not trying to jinx him here, but I said yesterday on social media when I saw that deal come out, I said, much like he has never fumbled in the NFL, he did not fumble the bag when it came to this opportunity. And I love the story of Tyler Allgeier, and he will always be a guy I root for because he was super good with the media during his time at BYU, never thought himself above anybody, because I think that when you come in as humble of a entry into the BYU football program as he had, you couldn't not be humble. And now he's made life-changing money. He's made money that I know that his family was trying to help him get by, and they weren't necessarily super wealthy when he was in college. Well, now he's got the money to take care of those around him. And that's a cool story. And I love stories like that. And congratulations, absolutely, goes to Tyler Allgeier. Now the story about Khyiris Tonga is a similar story. He played at Granger High School. Remember, he was like a tight end. He was kind of an athlete in many respects. And when he came to BYU, he was a 2-star prospect. I ended up beefing up to, I think he was listed at 6'4", like 300 some odd pounds when he played at BYU. And he was the heart and soul of the most effective defenses that Elisa Tuiaki ever coordinated at BYU. Now, that's a bit of an oxymoron. I understand that. But Khyiris was a man amongst boys out there. He played in the 3-man front for BYU, played alongside guys like Zach Daw on that defensive line, and they were very, very effective. They were downright ferocious. But I'm telling you, in the middle of that was Khyiris Tonga. And obviously ended up being, I think, a 7th-round pick by the Minnesota Vikings. He's bounced around a little bit. But he is now going to a championship caliber program a year after playing in a Super Bowl. He was part of that upstart New England Patriots team this past year on a 1-year deal, kind of a prove-it deal in many respects, and he more than proved it. I thought Khyiris was phenomenal for New England. And like I said, makes that run to the Super Bowl. And now he parlays that into a 3-year deal worth $21 million and change with the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid is hooking up one of his fellow former Cougars and brings in a guy like Khyiris Tonga, and him playing alongside some of the really, really good defensive linemen that the Chiefs have. Man, you couldn't think of, I think, a better scenario for a guy like Khyiris. And he's got to be licking his chops thinking about the fact that playing alongside some of the guys that this Kansas City Chiefs defense has had. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a championship caliber franchise. They obviously missed the playoffs last year, having to retool a little bit, but they're doing it with guys like Khyiris Tonga who are coming in and thinking, all right, I played well last year. Let's take it to the next level. Let's help this franchise get back to the Super Bowl ways that the Kansas City Chiefs are accustomed to with Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the guys on that roster. And we'll see how it all goes. And there's obviously another local connection there. Is Alohi Gilman, who played at Orem High School, just signed a 3-year deal coming over from the Baltimore Ravens to join the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's a cool connection. But the story of Khyiris Tonga is, like I said, a guy that he's just kind of been looking for opportunities. He goes to the Minnesota Vikings, really didn't make it with Minnesota, kind of breaks out with the Chicago Bears. Did he go to Arizona at one point, I think, for a hot minute? They ends up in New England. And now he gets a pretty nice payday and a 3-year deal. Now, obviously, the 3-year deals are negotiable and you can be cut at any point in that 3 years because we've seen that with the NFL. But it shows that these guys who were 2-star prospects ended up, I think, producing at I would say a 4, in the case of a guy like Tyler Allgeier, a 5-star level during their time at BYU, have jumped up to the NFL, have found their role, found their niche, and are succeeding at a high level. And I root for guys like this because, like I said, I love the stories of the Kyle Van Noys and the Fred Warners who are expected to do great things. That's awesome because they represent BYU at the highest levels. But even more so, I love guys who come in who are not necessarily thought of as top-tier prospects, and they emerge on the other side and have made themselves into multimillionaires and have become pillars of what BYU can do for guys that want to play at the next level. I love this. And I love the fact that Tyler and Khyiris are getting their just rewards. They're getting the money that they absolutely deserve. And I'm rooting them on. And I hope they succeed at a high level. And if you I'll also add this in as well, Chris Brooks, remember him as a transfer portal running back who came to BYU. Well, he has found his niche in the NFL as well and just got a 2-year extension with the Green Bay Packers for his play on the field. He's not necessarily going to be number 1 back material like I think Tyler Allgeier is, but shows that Chris Brooks also succeeding. Now, he doesn't have the same type of track record with BYU, kind of the 1 year. But these stories, they're why I think we root on guys, even when they leave BYU, because the whole mantra of BYU is enter to learn, go forth to serve. Well, that obviously is in every facet. And in this case, for these guys, it's an opportunity to represent BYU on the biggest stage of football in the National Football League. So you'll always find me rooting for these guys. And I hope that they go out there and kill it. I hope that they make all the money that they're capable of making in their NFL careers here, and that they continue to represent BYU on a very, very high level. All right, that is going to do it for today's edition of the podcast. Absolutely love that you guys are enjoying the content as much as you are. Really appreciate everything you guys do, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing with your family and friends. Coming up tomorrow, reaction to whatever happens against Kansas State, hopefully previewing a game against West Virginia in the Big 12 tournament. Obviously, BYU will also be having a spring ball availability later on this afternoon. Speaking of Tuesday, we'll have reaction to that, whatever we learn/observe. We'll get to that. And then, hey, make sure you check out everything we got going on with Locked On. If you're watching on video, we are now going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're on audio, make your second listen today, Locked On College Basketball. Get up to speed on everything else going on in this crazy week of conference tournaments. Our guys over there, Locked On College Basketball, they are working their tails off to cover the sport when it comes to the month they call IZO. So as always, please follow the show on social media as well, Locked On Cougars on Facebook, Instagram, or X/Twitter. And as always, come back tomorrow and be an everydayer right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.